At our New Year's feast, Mom declared, "Your sister's divorced, and you'll now fund her and her kids." "That's all, son." Dad nodded. "If you have objections, the door is open." I replied, "Great. I'm leaving. You'll handle your own mortgage." Plain and simple. Intro music fades slightly. Have you ever felt like your entire family sees you not as a person, but as a walking ATM? Because I just found out my own father forged my name on a home equity loan. And the worst part? That wasn't even the most shocking thing said at our New Year's dinner. My blood ran cold, and in that moment, I knew everything was about to change. That night, I just let the words hang there, heavy and suffocating, right in the center of the table. They sat between the gravy boat and Mom's infamous store-bought coleslaw, sprinkled with paprika to make it look homemade. My sister, Ivy, blinked slowly, like she was trying to process a new reality. Dad just reached for his glass, his hand shaking slightly, as if it was the only thing that could save him. Mom, though, she just smiled. It was slow, dangerous. That predatory smile she uses right before she pulls out some old, embarrassing story from when I was 16, just to remind everyone I'm still just a kid. The whole room seemed to hold its breath, but mine? Mine felt tucked into my chest, a tight knot. I was just waiting, dreading the next line in a script I absolutely had not agreed to anymore. You see, I became the reliable one early on. I learned pretty fast that if you're the reliable one, you get the least trouble, but you also get all the tasks. Growing up, Dad always said, "A man provides." But he never actually clarified who he was providing for. He meant for the house to feel calm. He meant for Mom to have less to do. He meant for Ivy to keep her perfect, innocent smile. Most of all, he meant for himself to watch TV without interruption. We weren't, like, broke, you know? But we were always just one thing away from disaster. An alternator. A roof leak. Braces. Then, when I was 16, the plant shut down. Dad went self-employed, which basically meant he wore his work boots to the bar and told anyone who'd listen that he was waiting on a call. Mom, bless her heart, picked up extra shifts at the craft store and became a master, a true weaponizer of coupons. That's when I learned there's a different kind of poverty, a deep, gnawing poverty that creeps in when everyone still desperately wants to be seen as middle class. It makes people mean, really mean. The summer after high school, I started at the mine. Around here, if you weren't going to college, you either went down into the earth or you left town. I went down. On my very first day, the foreman just looked at me, a young kid, and said, "You'll smell like this forever." He was right. Even after 3 showers, my pillow still had a shadow. But in that cage, packed shoulder to shoulder with men who chewed toothpicks like they were contracts, I found a strange kind of quiet. It's loud down there, deafening even, but it's honest. Rock is rock. Weight is weight. You don't have to guess what it wants from you. I paid rent at home. Dad called it contributing. I called it buying my own peace. When a pipe burst one winter, I called the plumber myself, paid him cash, and then Dad told the whole family he'd handled it. It was just smoother that way. Easier. When Ivy turned 19 and said she wanted something with peace and light, she moved into a place with seriously questionable outlets. I handed over my extra space heater and just said, "Keep it on low, please." Months later, I saw that exact heater in Mom's garage sale for $2. "It's not safe," she said, looking right at me, taking the money. Ivy married a guy named Sean. He was the kind of charming that could talk the hair off a dog. He called me big man and borrowed tools he never returned. Their wedding was a potluck in a rented hall. Dad cried during his toast. He didn't cry when I got my permanent badge at the mine, though. Not a single tear. 2 years into their marriage, I started paying for little things. It was easier than watching Ivy cry. First, it was a daycare deposit, just until his check clears. Then a car seat, because, you know, safety. Then the ER copay, when my niece fell off the monkey bars. I pay because I love those kids, fiercely. And I pay because I have a grasp of spreadsheets that Mom will never, ever respect. Mom, meanwhile, graduated from subtle hints to outright expectations so quietly, so insidiously, that I barely even noticed it happening. Grab milk on your way home. The school is asking for a donation. Put your name, but we'll all feel good about it. You know your father's back is bothering him. I learned to carry things with one hand and guilt with the other. At work, I started making lead miner. I trained the new guys. I volunteered for all the shut-ins and holiday shifts because the pay was better, yeah, but mostly because the noise, the constant rumble and grind of the mine, kept my head from spinning. Underground, I could predict the day. Check the air. Check the line. Mind the roof. Mind your hands. Above ground, the rules were trickier. Don't show off. Don't out-earn your father. Don't embarrass your sister. And, the big one, don't say no. Because if you said no, well, then you thought you were better. I did okay. Not buy a boat, okay, but replace my tires without an anxiety attack, okay. I even built a sinking fund, tabbed and organized, in an ugly green binder. Once, after Dad got another letter with bright red text, I offered to refinance the house in my name. He refused. A man pays his own mortgage, he said, puffing out his chest. He said this while a check from his mother was hidden in a cookbook in the kitchen. I saw it. When Ivy's marriage finally cracked, it wasn't a sudden break. It was like hearing a rock pop in the walls, a long, slow creak, long before a roof fall. You feel it in your teeth. Sean took time to find himself, which apparently meant a roommate and a scooter. He started posting pictures of smoothies on social media. Ivy, heartbroken, posted memes about strong single moms and texted me. Can you cover gas until Friday? Fridays multiplied. Mom's script shifted. Dramatically. Sawyer, family comes first. Your sister needs stability. The kids need routine. It's what Grandpa would have wanted. Grandpa, by the way, left us his tools and his stories. He never left us the right to put a human being on direct debit. The family group chat, once a place for bad jokes, turned into a ledger with emojis. If I paid, a thumbs up. If I hesitated, just silence. Then, inevitably, a phone call from Dad. You know how your mother worries. Ivy and I are only 18 months apart, but in Mom's never-ending narration, Ivy is permanently just figuring things out. And me? I am permanently the fixer. That's my gift. For a long, painful time, I mistook being needed for being loved. Then came that November night. I got home at 2 a.m. after a double shift, exhausted. My boot heel left a crescent of mud on the mat. On the kitchen counter, there it was, a note in Mom's distinctive handwriting, torn from a yellow legal pad. Took your debit. We'll put it back on Monday. A quick calculation in the morning told me she'd paid the absolute minimum on a department store card we didn't even use. It's emergency only, she'd always said, and then bought new curtains because the light is rude in the living room. When I brought it up, she just laughed. You're so sensitive. December. I opened my mail over the kitchen sink. You know, because if you cry into dishwater, it doesn't count. The envelope had a bank logo I didn't recognize, a bank I definitely didn't bank with. Inside, welcome to your home equity line of credit. I froze. I don't own a home. That's when it hit me. Dad. He had added my name to an application package. I learned the phrase fraudulent signature when I spent my entire lunch break on hold. It's just to consolidate, Dad mumbled later, the phone crooked between his ear and shoulder, the game resuming on TV. Names don't mean much, he grinned, utterly dismissive. You'll thank me when the rate dips. I didn't thank him. I froze like a man who hears a creak in the dark, knowing danger is near. Then December turned into New Year's. Mom, oblivious, set the table like it was for a magazine shoot, a magazine that, somehow, always feels a little sticky. And I walked in, boots still damp, hope still thin. Which brings us back to that candlelight, the paper crowns, and Mom's mouth, finding a script she thought would be met with bowed heads and quiet agreement. Your sister's divorced, and now you'll be supporting her and her kids. The thing about mines is that you can feel when the pressure isn't safe. It's in the way the air moves, in the small sounds that don't fit, the ones that warn you. You step back. You put in a prop. You don't pretend it's fine and keep walking. I had kept walking, head down, for years. That night, I finally heard the noise. And I stopped. Dad, ever the enabler, puffed up. If you disagree, the door's right there. The door had always been right there. I just hadn't wanted to see it. I didn't flip the table. I didn't shout. That's just not my way. Underground, panic is how people get hurt. You keep your voice low so others instinctively lower theirs. So, I just said, calmly, deliberately, let's be clear. Supporting my niece and nephew is my choice, not your decree. And while we're making declarations, call the bank in the morning. Tell them you forged my name. Tell them to remove it. A fork scraped. Glass sweat. Silence. Mom blinked, slowly, like a cat suddenly caught in sunlight. Forged, she scoffed. Such a dramatic word. It's family business, Sawyer. It's fraud, I said, my voice steady. Dad's jaw went sideways. Watch your tone. No. I countered, looking him dead in the eye. Watch your paperwork. Ivy finally spoke, her voice small, but with a surprising edge. Can you not do this right now? The kids are here. They're all ready, Mom added, her voice sharp. Ivy, I said, keeping my voice soft, just for her. I love them. That doesn't mean I'm your wallet. Her eyes filled with tears, because of course they did. What am I supposed to do? She whispered. Sean's gone. My hours got cut. Mom said she started. I know what Mom said, I cut in. Mom says a lot. Mom also said she'd borrow my card and put it back Monday. Mom bristled. I wrote you a note. You wrote me a note. I agreed, a chilling calm in my voice. Dad leaned back then, played the part where he's the patriarch who has thought hard about this. Here's what's going to happen, he declared. You'll deposit half your check into your mother's account each pay period. We'll distribute as needed. It keeps things simple. You minors don't track things anyway. I laughed. It surprised me, honestly. It just bubbled up. I have ledgers. You have vibes. Dad's face shifted, his carefully constructed authority crumbling. He was losing the room he thought he owned. He raised his voice. If you walk out that door, don't come crawling back when you realize we were right. Right about what? I asked. That I'm only valuable if I pay for the privilege to sit at this table? Mom's smile vanished. She bared her teeth. Not a snarl, not quite, but a clear, unmistakable warning. You ungrateful boy. We raised you. We fed you. You fed me hamburger helper. I shot back, my own voice rising now, and told me to be thankful for a roof you didn't pay for. You raised me to be your backup plan. Her chair scraped against the floor. Get out. Gladly, I said. I stood up. And then I did the one thing I'd rehearsed in my head for months, the one thing I never had the nerve to do. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and with 2 taps, canceled the auto transfers I had set up for their utilities. Then, I opened another app and turned off my card on Mom's digital wallet. Her eyes widened, horrified. She heard the notification ping on her phone across the table. A small sound, a practical one, like a valve closing. What did you do? She demanded. I stopped being your ATM, I said. Simple as that. Dad pointed at the door. You're making a big mistake. I nodded. Probably. But it'll be my mistake. Ivy's voice broke. Sawyer, please. The rent. Text me a lease, Ivy. I said, my gaze softening as I looked at her. Directly from your landlord. I'll help you get to March, and then we're sitting down with a budget. You're getting a job with actual hours or training for one. I'll babysit for interviews. But I won't fund Mom's curtains again. Mom slapped the table. The candle wobbled precariously. Do not talk to her like she's a child. She's not, I said, looking right at my sister. That's the point. Dad grabbed the good plate, the one with the cabbage rolls, like it needed protecting from me. After everything we've done, he seethed, you think you're better than us because you crawl in holes for a living and come out with a little hazard pay? I smiled then. It probably looked more like a grimace. I think I'm tired, I said. And I think I'm done. I put on my boots. Slow, deliberate, because speed is panic disguised. I zipped my jacket. Then, I reached into my pocket and set a folded piece of paper by Dad's fork. He glanced down. It was a copy of the Hellick paperwork, my forged signature circled in angry red, and a handwritten note beneath it. Police report drafted. We'll file tomorrow if not resolved. I wasn't bluffing. A friend at the mine had given me the language. Guys who work with dangerous equipment learn to document everything. Dad swallowed hard. Mom's eyes flicked, calculating rapidly. That's a low blow, Dad said, his voice quiet. Call it a boundary, I said. I looked at the kids, my niece and nephew, who were staring at me wide-eyed. Hey, nerds, I said, softening my voice for them. I put a Lego set in the truck. We'll build it this weekend. One of them gave me a gap-toothed grin. The other one, my nephew, piped up, we're not nerds. We're wolves. Even better, I said, and smiled properly this time. I opened the door. Cold air rushed in, clean and uncomplicated. Behind me, Mom hissed something about throwing family away. Dad said, don't bother coming back. Ivy said nothing. Her phone lit her face like a small blue moon. Happy New Year. I said to the night. It felt like a beginning that didn't need confetti. I thought the silence would be the worst part. It wasn't. The worst part was how loud everything got. Notifications, unknown numbers, endless voicemails. Please call me. Call your mother. Sawyer, are you serious? Then the long, rambling messages, typed by someone who edits while they write. You know, we've always supported you in our way, but you're being dramatic and making Ivy suffer when she's the victim here, and your father is hurt, and we are older and need respect, and this is not what good sons do. I read none of them out loud. I learned not to narrate my pain to people who wouldn't understand. At work, I told my supervisor I couldn't swap shifts with Ricky anymore to do school pickup. I told him I would still work doubles, absolutely, just not the kind that left me in the parking lot at 11:58 p.m. with an empty booster seat in the back and a knot of dread in my stomach. He just nodded, typed something into the schedule software, then looked up. You good? He asked. I said, better than last week. Ivy texted me a picture of her lease. I sent the money for January. Then I sent her a link to a budgeting template with categories that aren't cute or vague. Groceries, gas, kids' shoes, phone, car insurance, emergency fund, and one, in capital letters, that just said, M. She texted LOL. I texted back, not a joke. I offered to watch the kids while she took a class at the community college at night. The reply took 2 hours. Maybe Mom called my boss. I know she did, because he summoned me to his office, the one with the clock that always seems to be stuck at 2:17. He rubbed his forehead, sighed, and said, Your mother asked me to talk sense into you. He paused, then added, I told her I manage schedules, not souls. I laughed, genuinely, thanked him, and brought him a coffee the next shift. Dad didn't call. He sent a picture of a power bill with the caption, Hope this makes you happy. I replied with a copy of the forged signature and the words, Call the bank. The bank called him. He called me, furious. You really did it. I really did. What are you trying to do? Send me to jail. I'm trying to get my name off debt I didn't create. Silence. Then he scoffed. You think you're so clean. You think if you don't help, we'll figure it out. He laughed, a humorless, bitter sound. We will. We always do. Good, I said and hung up. Figure it out. Mom escalated. She showed up at my place with a cake and that special, weaponized sweetness she keeps in the pantry for special occasions. You look thin, she said, glancing around my small apartment, her nose crinkling. She touched the curtain with 2 fingers, like she was checking a pulse. This place is depressing. It's mine, I said simply. You can't mean this, she launched, without a runway. You can't mean to abandon your family at a time like this. Your sister is drowning. Your father is worried sick. Dad is worried about Dad, I stated. I'm worried about not losing the next 10 years of my life solving problems that shouldn't be mine. She set the cake down with a thud. Do you know how you sound? Like a person with a spine, I said. She tried tears. When those didn't move me, she tried anger. When that didn't land, she tried history. We kept a roof over your head, she snapped. And reminded me of it every single day, I retorted. Like rent with interest. She scoffed. You always were dramatic. Mom, I said, my voice rising a little. You took my card. I left a note. You added my name to a loan. It's family business. It's crime. She grabbed the cake back and stormed out. I ate a peanut butter sandwich and listened to the neighbor's dog bark like it was trying to make a point. Ivy came over 2 nights later with a bag of laundry and 2 kids who ran to my couch like it was a trampoline. She stood in the doorway, her face tired, etched with worry. I'm sorry, she said, which was new. Completely new. I shouldn't have let Mom talk to you that way. I panicked. I know, I said. She said you had savings. She looked guilty for even knowing. She said you're hoarding. I have a 3-month emergency fund, I explained. It took me 5 years to build it. It's for broken transmissions and broken wrists. It's not for curtains. She laughed, then cried at the same time. God, I hate her curtains. We sat at my tiny kitchen table while the wolves built Legos on the floor. I showed her the spreadsheet, gently, not like a weapon, but like a map. You don't have to do everything at once, I said. But you do have to stop letting Mom plan your money. I don't know how to say no to her, she admitted, staring at her hands. Practice on me, I said. She exhaled deeply. No, Sawyer. I won't let you pay my phone bill forever. Good, I said. Now, say it to her. She did. It didn't go well. Mom sent 6 long messages about respect and sacrifice, and how we do for each other. Ivy sent one, single sentence. I'll let you know when I can contribute to groceries. Mom didn't answer for a day. Then she sent a photo of an empty fridge with the caption, "Guess we'll go hungry." Ivy muted the chat. I was so proud of her. It was like watching someone finally set the jack right under the axle and slowly, surely, lift the car. At work, the guys noticed I wasn't eating from the vending machine at midnight anymore. I was bringing leftovers that didn't taste like I'd lost a bet. New year, new you, one joked. New year, same me, I said, a slight smile playing on my lips. Fewer parasites. And we all laughed, because every single one of us has someone who thinks your paycheck is a menu. Dad lasted 3 weeks before calling to say, "Your mother's upset." "She's often upset," I replied dryly. "We need you," he said. "No," I countered. "You want me." "Same difference," he scoffed. "Not anymore," I said. He hung up. 10 minutes later, he texted me a picture of a shut-off notice for their electricity. I forwarded him a link to the power company's payment plan page. 2 hours later, he texted back, "Never mind." Sorted. Translation, he asked a cousin. I slept fine. One Sunday, I took the kids to the park. They screamed down the slide. Pure joy. Ivy sat on the bench beside me, like a person whose bones had to learn a new arrangement after years of being twisted. She stared at her hands. When did you stop hoping they'd change?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "The day I realized I could," I said. She nodded, slow. "Mom told me you threatened to call the police." "I didn't threaten," I corrected her. "I prepared." She made a face, like the word tasted weird. "Prepared," she repeated. "I don't know how to do that." "You're doing it," I said, nodding at the kids, at the bag with the snacks you didn't ask Mom to buy, at the timer on your phone that says you have boundaries for screen time and bedtime. You just thought preparation was obedience. It isn't. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a flyer, crinkled and worn. Medical coding evening program. She held it like it could burn her fingers. "Do you think I could?" "Yes," I said, maybe too fast. "I'll cover the first class. You pay me back once you get a job. We'll write it down so Mom can't call it a gift from the family later." She laughed, truly laughed, for real this time. The kind of laugh that made the kids turn to see what could possibly be that funny. "Write it down," she said. "You're so you." "Ledgers," I said, tapping my temple. "Vibes are how we got here." February rolled in with snow and a long, passive-aggressive text from Mom. "Your aunt is considering taking us off her phone plan because someone is late." "We aren't late. We are managing multiple priorities." I didn't reply. Dad tried a new tactic, nostalgia. "Remember when I taught you to change your oil?" he wrote. "You owe me for the years I gave you." I typed, deleted, typed again. Then I sent. "I remember teaching myself on YouTube because you were at the bar." He read it. Then he didn't reply. That non-answer felt like a window finally staying open. There were small wins that felt absolutely massive because I saw them. Ivy returned a sweater Mom had bought for an interview, still with the tags. She used the cash for groceries and texted me a picture of apples lined up on the counter like soldiers. "Look at me," she wrote. "Feeding wolves." I sent back a wolf emoji, a heart, and a photo of my ugly green binder. "We attack," I wrote. On payday, I held my check in the break room like it was an animal that used to bite me. It looked smaller and bigger at the same time. Smaller, because it was what it was. Bigger, because it only had my name on it. I deposited it and bought myself a new pair of work socks that didn't have thin spots at the heel. It felt like an act of rebellion. It felt like a normal thing humans do that I had labeled selfish for too long, because my mother loved to assign sin to comfort. By March, the bank had finally removed my name from the helic. Dad clarified the misunderstanding. It took 3 calls, 1 registered letter, and a recorded line where I read a script that used the word misrepresentation 3 times. Dad didn't look at me for a week after that. That was fine. He'd spent years looking through me anyway. At Easter, Mom texted a photo of a table set beautifully, but without my plate. "We kept it simple," she wrote. "No drama." I ate ham sandwiches on my steps and thought about how quiet can be loud when nobody's telling you what you owe. I didn't get a grand healing. I got a Tuesday alarm. A thermos. My mind's sky, scrubbed clean, from my porch. A scrappy little plant from Ivy for my window light. "We're figuring it out," she'd said. "Here's the point. I'm not a bank or a plan B. I can love them and still say no. Mom still texts. I answer only real questions. Do you love us? Yes, enough not to let you use me. Dad pays his own mortgage now. Grumpy, learning Excel. Good. Ivy passed her first module. 92%. We celebrated with a cheap movie and sleeping kids. I let the mess wait. My mess. My rules. What changed? Not them. Not really. But me? Boundaries made my hands stop shaking. I keep the forged signature copy in my green binder now, like a fossil. Next to it, there are new tabs. Future trip. Days off without guilt. Bigger emergency fund. Cash only Christmas. One Sunday in April, the plant grew a new leaf. We ate spaghetti, laughed at a noodle stuck to the ceiling, washed our own dishes. No photos. No permission. Closure. You know, you can stop paying for a seat at a table where you're the menu. You can walk through the door and keep walking. My name is Sawyer. I go down. I come up. And I keep my peace. Not easy. Simple. Simple as that. Pause. So, tell me, have you ever had to draw a line in the sand with family, even when it felt impossible? What did you do? I'd really love to know what you think in the comments below. Outro music begins.